Obviously welcome your son last June and then go into competition that quickly. What was your mindset like? What was the body like?
Body was rough, I won't lie. Pelvic floor, not there. It's still not fully there, I will admit that.
Yep.
We're working on it. It was hard. It was definitely an ego check, for sure. I've never been that, not only out of shape, but just unaware. Things weren't connecting, which makes sense. Not only your pelvic floor, your core is gone, everything's shot. So like trying to relearn how to run, upper body wasn't connected to lower body, pelvic stability as a whole, trying to lift weights. There was a lot that was just not operating at the same level I've been doing for the last 20 years. I've had a really long career. And this was the first big, like, major physical challenge. It's not an injury, but you still, in some ways, you treat it the same.
I hardly got off the couch in the first year, and so many props and kudos to what it is that you're doing, and to go out there and not only compete, but to do really, really well. Of course, the biggest blessing of your life, welcoming your son, but the calendar of when he was born, and how the Olympics and maternity leave, so to speak, the policy in place. Explain what that really looked like and why it was you had to turn things around in the capacity that you did.
Yeah, so it's great that these maternity policies exist. I get a year out, and I'm not docked for it. I'm not penalized. I keep my stipend from the U.S. Olympic Committee. You know, our international governing body allows me 1 year out, but that's the year you're pregnant. And so a lot of it, unfortunately, really depends on when you get pregnant and when you give birth. And I gave birth in June, and my year out was my pregnancy year. And then you go into, our season starts in October. So I had from June until October to prepare. Which is not a lot of time at all. So a lot of last year was just starting again, but I had to compete last year because some of the qualifications for the Olympics this year started last year. So I didn't have a choice just to take last year off, and if I did, I would have no funding whatsoever right now. I'd lose my insurance. You can't take the 2 years off. So I had to start, and I had to start 4 months postpartum, start competing at 5 months, and just try and build. So expectations needed to be low. I'm fortunate, the coach that I've got, Stu, he's been with me my entire career. He's awesome. So I'm working with people, therapists, Gordon, my husband, but the people that I have that are on my team, my core people, they've known me a long time. So it's, where's my body now? We're gonna race myself into shape. We're gonna take it step by step. It was definitely a 16-month journey.
How do you balance that, and then the mental side of just the competitor in you? I'm sure doesn't want to be patient, but but motherhood doesn't allow much of a difference. So you have to kind of lock in and say, okay, this is going to take some time.
Yeah, it definitely has. Motherhood has taught me patience more than I had before. I think sports taught me a lot in working with teammates and coaches that you don't always get to pick. Setbacks are part of it. Sacrifices, dedication, it's all part of the Olympic journey. It's just now taken to a whole nother degree, having a 1-year-old. And so I'm very lucky that I have a husband that's willing to put his career aside in order for us to do this as a family. It wouldn't happen without him doing that. It's the sacrifice he's made. He's kind of a bit of everything. Sports psych, therapist, dad, husband. He gets to be a trainer.
He is trainer. I mean,
he like equipment. Like he's on it with bobsleds and runners, and he's trying to help like everything we can do. We've given ourselves, it was a 16-month goal, and we're putting everything we have, finances, resources, all of it on the line.
How did your marriage prior to parenthood help kind of maybe establish a foundation that has, you know, made it stronger for you guys today as you're able to raise your son in a way that requires sacrifice and traveling and a lot of Miss Rachel?
Yes, Miss Rachel has saved us. I went into this, no screen times, no bad food, no anything. And he's having a meltdown in a landing, and I'm sure his ears are like, cool, eat the chocolate bar, just suck on it. Like we're gonna just survive here for 5 seconds and Miss Rachel's going on. So we definitely pick our battles for sure. Our relationship, it's for sure changed for the better. I think we trust each other more, and we've had to more than ever before, because our son's life, I have to trust him, he has to trust me with our son's life, and our son means the most to us as a whole. And I think that only has helped our relationship when it comes to like bobsled. We're lucky we get to do this together. It took a sacrifice on his part, a huge one, but the fact that we get to be there every day with our son. So not only does he get to travel, but he gets mom and dad time every day, all the time. Probably more than he needs, but I'm hoping for his development, that's good.
It's no question.
But he gets to be with us every day. He's raised by mom and dad. He gets to see us, you know, working hard, chasing our dreams, good or bad. And he gets to know he was a part of it. And I think that for us, that was an important piece. And I think our communication has had to be stronger around having Alden as well. Do you have him? Do I have him? And we have to be willing to ask each other. I need time away. I need to go work out. Do you have him? Do I have him? What's going on? So we've really had to rely on each other. And we have to ask for things, which before it was just kind of granted or given.
It's easy.
And you had more energy or time with each other, where now it's like, okay, I'm exhausted, I'm at 10%. Like, how are we going to make this work?
But healthy.
And
It's so healthy. It was so healthy. And it's something that people strive for. When you look back at 2022, what made that gold medal so special?
2022 was awesome for so many reasons. My first Olympics with Team USA, for one. But it was in the monobob event, which was a historic first ever for our sport. It was something that I had fought years previous for, was a second medal opportunity for women within bobsled, because we never had that. So my first Olympics, 2006, 10, 14, 18, I went, competed, won, got medals. We only ever had one event where men had two. Men had 2 men and 4 men, women only had 2 men. And I lobbied for a lot of years. I was competing with men, with women in the 4-man competition, which is a male-only event, not to be with the men, but to show women we're capable, because I was told we're not strong enough, we're not skilled enough drivers. The list goes on of not fast enough, not strong enough, no one wants to see it, you know, not everybody can do it, blah, blah, blah. And so if I removed the sexist reasons as to why we couldn't do it, I was like, fine, I'll showcase to you that we can. And so I did for a lot of years. That then opened the door to, okay, we need equal medal opportunity, at least allow that, which is how monobob was born. So the push for equal medal opportunity for women with our sport invented monobob. I did it this started 2014. So from 2014 to 2017, I was lobbying, fighting, emails, phone calls. How do we get women more greater opportunity worldwide within our sport? Fast forward 2020, monobob is made. I did it never knowing I was going to ever be around to see that benefit. I'm a product of the women that fought for bobsled and what we have now before me. And I want to be there for all of the women long after. And so it was a really important fight for greater opportunity for women in our sport. I love our sport. The opportunity I've had has given me my life, and I want women and more women worldwide to have that. And so when monobob was born, and then I could go to the Olympics and compete in it, and then win the first ever, it was like the cherry on top. It was so amazing. I was like, yes, I fought for this like years and years ago, didn't know what happened, and I can come out and I can dominate in it. And it was awesome. And to do it with a team that empowered me to be the best version of myself. It was after a 4-year legal battle with Canada, getting released, safe sport issues and violations. It was leaving one country and completely starting again anew in a different country. And so that whole transition and switch, along with immigration and then the addition of a new sport, pressure was high. And so to end 2022 and have that gold medal was just, it really meant everything. It was much more than being the best in the world. It was a culmination of a lot of different battles internally and individually that I had to fight to get through.
As fast-paced as everything has been, have you had a moment of pause to be able to step back and say, like, wow, like give yourself some credit in that? I mean, you've gone to 10 different countries with a 9-month-old. Your son starts walking at 10 and a half months. He's sprinting. I mean, if I've seen this firsthand through your house, I mean, he is full go all the time. Travis, the sacrifices. Have you had a minute to just sit back and go like, wow, like we're making this happen?
No.
And give.
No, we haven't. And I'm okay with it. I'll have that moment post-Olympics. And I'm saving it for that. That there will be a big come down. There will be a big letdown post-games. My body is going to be completely done and shot. I have no doubt. But no, we haven't really sat back and looked because we're still within that 16-month window from when we started, postpartum to when the games are. And so literally each day is, what are the goals? What are the objectives? How do we adjust those if and when they need to be adjusted? We have a 1-year-old, so it's constantly adjusting. Sleep regressions and all of the above, trying to get him food and fed, especially when you're in other countries. Like it's all just part of it. And so, it's a process, but it was one we wanted to take. It was a step that we had to work really hard for. It was 2 years of IVF, a lot of failure in that process. Which is not what I expected. So it's kind of a blessing for every hardship that comes along with it, or every situation where you're like, oh, okay, this is really challenging. I wouldn't change it for a single thing, because while the goals are big and lofty and I'm working and giving everything I have to those goals, ultimately the best thing we got was my son out of this, and being able to be parents, have that with my husband, and be able to chase an Olympic dream. It really is awesome.
Coming up, Kaillie walks me through her 3-year IVF journey to becoming a mother, and how baby Alden has changed her outlook on life and sport forever. Is it hard as an elite athlete, someone who is the most decorated female bobsledder in the history of the sport, is it hard to turn off that competitive, that constant thought of how do I get better when you are just away from the gym or away from, competing in that moment?
Yeah, it's super hard. I feel like some of it is just kind of ingrained naturally. It's what makes me who I am. Sure. The details matter for me in everyday life just as much as they do in sport. And sometimes Travis will be like, calm down, it's fine. Or like, he does a really good job of being very patient, be very chill. And so he does allow for that and allows me to kind of bring it down. Sometimes I'll repeat myself and he'll be like, you want to say it one more time? Yeah. I'm like, oh. Okay, so
I love that.
Sometimes it just happens.
Sure.
So yes, I'm like, I swear, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. It just, I have to say it to know I've said it, to get it out. So yeah, there's definitely things and habits in sport that transfer over into kind of real everyday life, and some of that's just me. So it's going to come out.
Travis, you guys, with spending time with the two of you, you can tell, like, one, you're an unbelievable team. You're incredible parents together. Your kid is so well adjusted, and wow, you're just like, you're living in the moment. It seems like you guys do everything as a team. What is your relationship like, going back 10 years ago when you met to where you are today in the journey you've been on together? Is it, if you had to describe it in just a couple of words, what would you say?
Our relationship is solid. It's comforting, and our relationship is true, if I were to use those words. That would be kind of how I would describe it. I think Travis is my safe space. So the fact that he gets to come, I think helps. I know it helps when it comes to the sports side of things, especially when you do have that target on your back, especially when you are going out to chase things that other people haven't done, make history, do things that are hard. I do question myself in what I'm doing sometimes, and am I doing the right thing? Are there things that I can be doing better? How do I constantly move that needle or chase? And having that grounding from him, knowing that sport is only one part of who I am, is also really important. It's not everything about me. And he does a really good job of reminding me of that. When it comes to parenting Alden, we kind of just had to go into it. There's no rule book. Everyone knows.
Lord, it's true.
You don't really know what kind of parent you are until you become a parent.
Yep.
So I had all these ideas of what I was going to be like, what he was going to be like. But there's been times, he's had to rely on me and I've had to rely on him. And we've kind of grown together in that. And so I think, I mean, I'd like to take full credit for Alden, but Alden is his own little kid. He really is. And he already is starting to, he's now just a year, but you see these little characteristics and these little like habits that start to come out, and you see like his little personality. And so some of it is just him, and we just get to be along for the ride and foster that, which I think is cool. And the fact that we get to do it together, that we're chasing, my Olympic dream as a family, but that we get to raise him together. He's with mom and dad every day, and we get to see that personality and help shape or foster what naturally is coming out of him is really cool. So I'd like to take credit for it all, but I'm not. And by no means is anybody perfect, us nor him. But I think that's what's really great about it. And I know that I trust Travis a lot with not only my life, but my son, us as a family, our relationship. It has been, we've been together a while. Met on Facebook randomly, back when Facebook was like a thing.
I want to take you back to June of last year. Obviously, you've had a lot of life moments that are things you're very, very proud of. Can you point to anything in your career, as unbelievable as it is in bobsled, a moment outside of that's been something you're more proud of than what you achieved in June, which is becoming a mother and parents with Travis and bringing Alden to the world?
No, there's nothing. The birth of our son was the most amazing thing. Like, there really is nothing in sport. And I would trade a lifetime of sport to be able to have that moment again and again, or like relive it. And just being a parent is awesome. I don't really think they can compare. They are two very different things. I think there's always been this innate, I've always wanted to be a mom since I was a kid. And so there's always this been like innate feeling and wanting to. And I put it on the back burner for a lot of my career, because as a female in sport, I was always told, when you have a family, you can't bring them on tour, you can't do this, it's going to end your career, you're never going to be the same athlete again. And that rhetoric was over and over, and it's really taken a lot of other women to kind of break through. And I get to be and have a career in sport. I can still be world class. My goal is to get back on top of that podium to showcase that it's possible to have your cake and eat it too. In that sense, I'm going to have my family. I'm going to come back to sport, and I can be just as good, if not better, than what I was before. But growing up, that was not always the case, and that's not what was modeled. And so that's the challenging part. But the way I see it, they don't compare. There's sport me, and there's sport life, and there's things I've achieved, and there are the highest of high moments. And then there's becoming a mom. And that is a completely separate thing that hits the heart in a different place. And they're both equally awesome. You can be the best in the world, and I get to be a mom. And I plan to be the best mom in the world to Alden, and whatever that means. It's not a comparison to anybody else. It's just I want to be the best I can for him. And so I think that, they kind of go hand in hand, but they're equal yet not, and it's just,
You've worked for everything in your life. You look at your medals and everything that you've done in bobsled, and then you had to work to get pregnant too. How did going through just the IVF journey with Travis change your relationship during that time?
I think going through the process made us stronger. Being on the other side of it, in the middle of it, I probably wouldn't have said that same thing. But it's frustrating. It's maddening. It's another one of those things where sometimes you just go, why me? Like, why? All I want is to be a parent. I want to be a mom so bad. And like, Why can't it just happen? The amount of times you get told in school, you know, wear protection, do this, go here. And I'm like, didn't matter. Wouldn't have helped anyways. Like, shoot. And you just don't know those things. And going through it, I didn't know until probably like 5 years ago that I had endometriosis. I've got stage 4 endo. So that basically took my fallopian tubes out. They were completely blocked. It's on other organs that I need to survive, so they can't fully remove it. It'll continue to come back, but it's what caused my infertility. So we tried and tried for years and years. No one could tell me why or how. And it makes sense even looking back. The pain I was experiencing, the bloating, the things that people couldn't explain that would go on with my system that you just get on. And I don't, you know, every woman's different. What are your periods versus your periods? Mine suck too. Okay, sounds good. And so you go through life thinking this is what everyone else experiences too. But that's not always the case. And so it was nice to have an answer when we found out with the endo, but then it created a whole host of other problems. We knew we'd have to go through IVF. So then it became about when and how and timing. And we learned throughout that process that even if you plan with the best of intentions with IVF and you're directly implanting an embryo, it still cannot work out. And that part I didn't know. So there was a lot throughout the process that was scary that I didn't know, that we had never been through. I'm jacking myself full of hormones. I'm trying to get special exemptions with certain hormones because you can't take them within sport. Wow. And so that was a really frustrating because I'm trying to work with different doctors. There's sport doctors, there's the medical doctors, there's, you know, my OBGYN, there's, you know, the IVF doctors. Here's the plan, here's what we need. You're trying to stimulate follicles. You're trying to still be an elite athlete, and I only get 1 year out, so that year has to be when I'm pregnant. So I'm, you know, taking Lupron Depot and all these medicines while trying to compete, having hot flashes. Yeah. And I'm against 22-year-old girls that are just trying to, you know, squat the most and be the fastest. And that's what I signed up for. Yeah. I continue with sport, and it's part of what it is, but it was a process that I was not prepared for going into or going through. I'm stronger for it. Travis and I are stronger for it. It has given us the birth of our son. And I hope that other women that have had to go through it can understand that it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you if that's your journey or that's your path to get to the end result. And so for us, it was a 2.5-year process. We went through 2 rounds of egg retrieval. We had 4 transfers. It was on the 4th transfer. We had 3 failed. And it was on the 4th transfer that Alden took. And sometimes I think, like, you look back and you go, okay, why didn't they work? But you also have to look back and go, okay, we were meant to have that kid. And that embryo was the one we were supposed to have. So when I look at it that way, it makes the hard ones not so crappy. Yeah. And so it worked. Yeah. And there was definitely times in sport that got me through the IVF stuff. And then there was times going through, like, the IVF stuff now. I want to be able to take a lot of that. And I really do feel stronger and better mentally and physically going forward into sport because of the IVF stuff. I feel more complete and more whole. I know I can take on and handle things that I am not prepared for, or that I don't know. And I would have never had that confidence before. So they've definitely made me stronger and better, but it was a rough process, and I don't think anyone's prepared for it. Because it's, like you said, it's not something you can work for. I can lift more, I can run faster, I can get more therapy, find different coaches, work with my coaches to be faster, stronger, better. But I can't make the IVF process happen. I can't make an embryo take. I can't wish my lining to be thicker or better. I can't, all you can do is, like, hope, and it's in someone else's hands. It's, you know, there's nothing you can do to work for it, but do the best that you can and see how your body reacts and try and learn. And so it got really frustrating very quickly. It got very defeating. And then we had to try and come up with a strategy. I knew I was never going to give up throughout the process. Yeah. And sport has taught me that. Just because it doesn't work the first time doesn't mean it's not going to work. Yeah. So I had never lost hope. I had never given up. I could see how people do. The finances is a whole nother subject to talk about when it comes to that process, because none of it's covered. So Hopefully Eldon gets a scholarship because we depleted his life savings to get him here. But that's part of the process, unfortunately, but it is. And so, I think it'll be, he's just awesome. And it's amazing to be on the other side of it. But for that 2.5 years, it was very, very challenging.
You use the phrase while still trying to be an elite athlete. You were an elite athlete. You were literally winning gold medals.
Yep, that is true.
You have more gold medals. There's no trying. You were achieving those things.
Yeah.
How to be going through all these questions and not knowing what's going on? How do you win a gold medal in 2022? How do you win more world champions than anyone else ever in bobsled? And also be dealing with all of these physical, the pain, physical and mental emotion that comes with not knowing, why isn't this happening? How do you do that?
I think there was a big part. Sport has been a constant. Sport has always, since I was a kid, I've loved sport. I've always been good at sport, but it's always felt home to me. I can go to the gym and it's comfortable for me to just crush my body physically and be like exhausted and tired. But I need that. Like my body physically craves it and like I need that. And so for me, that's a comfortable place to be. It might hurt and be uncomfortable and not work for some people, but for me, I enjoy that feeling. I enjoy pushing myself, trying to physically get better. The mental and physical side of that is comforting. So I think part of that's what makes me who I am. And so when it came to going through this process, being in sport actually calmed me down a little bit. Mm-hmm. And when I say I was trying to be an elite athlete, yes, I was an elite athlete at the time. But when you're actively working, on like 2 different aspects of it, I'm like, okay, I gotta try over here. I'm trying over here. You're constantly pushing the envelope. I think that's why I say trying, because you never stop. The second I stop trying, I'm going to get crushed. And I never want to be complacent with any of it. And so it's a constant try. You always have to.
When you're pregnant, of course you're looking forward to the day your child comes. Yes. But I have to imagine that for you, not only were you looking forward to the day your child comes, but then you're at some point, at what point did you start to think, okay, he's going to be here, and then when he's 4 months old, I'm going to start training again. Was that part of the thought process and planning while pregnant? Did that happen after he was born? Was it when you got pregnant?
That happened during implantation time, when we scheduled an implantation date. It was more, if this works, I know I'm going to give birth roughly around this time, which is going to give me roughly this much time. And that's where, when I say it kind of started to like rubber meets the road, we had implanted in September. And so I knew, okay, roughly the full 40 weeks later, here's what's going to go on around this time. It's going to be around this time. And if that one didn't work, then when could we implant next? Because sometimes you can't implant right away. Yeah. It takes a month or 2, which means we're already into October, November, competition season starts. So that's why we had to choose. Do I go and compete then? Mm-hmm. Or do I continue down this road and not compete? And so some of it is, we were already looking at that and planning as soon as we had an implantation date in hopes that it would take and it would all be good. Mm-hmm. And then what does that look like? Yeah. And we knew September was going to be our last shot to implant and still make it possible. Mm-hmm. At the same point, I knew we were going to continue down that family road, and it would just be it would look differently if we were going to implant at a later date. Yeah. And so,
looking back 10, 11 months now, were you ready? Were you ready? Because I know from experience, I was not ready to I'm not ready to lift a weight, get on a Peloton, get to do a thing for about 1.5 years. And here you are, 3 months postpartum, breastfeeding, trying to figure out how to be a mom for the first time, being excited that you have this beautiful baby boy. Were you physically, mentally ready to do that?
The Olympics is a hell of a drug. So no, I think I was not prepared at all. And again, in my mind, everything works perfectly. It's all great right from go. Yeah. And then we just adjust. There's plan A, but there's a B and C and D. Yeah. But we go with A and we make it as perfect as we can, and then we adjust as we need to. So I went into it like, it'll be no problem. Like 4 months, I'll take a couple months off, train. I knew I wasn't going to be in the best shape of my life. I was very ill prepared for how out of shape and how foreign everything would feel. Having never experienced birth before and like being pregnant before. And I think it didn't help that you can just, there's like a reason, you can just eat whatever you want.
Yeah.
And as an athlete, I have discipline, and now I'm pregnant. I can just do whatever. I gained 65 pounds.
Absolutely.
I was like, I don't have to work out for like a whole year, and now I have a reason to not work out because like I can't risk this.
Yep.
I got very out of shape, but then also, and I was okay with it because
Of course.
I wanted to experience it. I wanted to experience pregnancy. I wanted to keep the health of my child as best I could. So I really didn't stress anything sport throughout the pregnancy, and I knew it was all going to be on the back end. It's what's happening now.
Yeah.
Is now it's about getting in shape. Now it's about working. Now that he's good.
Yeah.
But even when we got pregnant, it wasn't. I was very aware that it could end at any point, and it was a very stressful experience. Graduating from the fertility clinic to just a regular OBGYN was like a huge win.
Yeah.
And we were really just taking each milestone as we went through. Okay, he's now at 22 weeks. He's now, viable at the 34-week mark. We can, if this happens, like you start to like recognize and realize, okay, we're hitting these milestones, but you're forever holding your breath because you know how fragile life can be throughout that process. And so I really tried to limit the thought of sport throughout of it and just live in the pregnancy life. And then he was born, live the mom life, adapt to that. And then I'm lucky I've got some amazing people, not just my husband, my family, but my coach, Stu, is awesome. My therapist, Gordon, is fantastic. And so the people that I have around me that have known me since I was 16, 18, 20 years old.
Coming up, I sit down with Kaillie's husband, Travis, to talk about the journey to parenthood and the sacrifices along the way.
I want to take you back to June of last year. A really exciting time for you guys.
Yeah.
You obviously welcomed your son into the world, and I know that it took a lot to get there. What was it like becoming a dad, and how special has it been for the two of you to become parents together?
It's been a huge blessing because it's never guaranteed. We know that. I don't know. It's still, there's days, Alden's 1 now. There's days where you go, he seems so old. And then, but he's only 1.
Yeah.
I mean, and that moment when he was born was unbelievable, for one. And I just, for so many reasons, to watch Kaillie go through birth, because I was there the entire time. She went for an induction. That takes like 4 days. Wild experience that I don't.
Not fun.
If we have to go through it again, that's fine. We would like to potentially have more kids. That's in the future. Because the road was long and we had so many failed transfers, it was a combination of relief and joy and what the hell did I just watch? And I've never felt more where I'm supposed to be, and yet watching something unfold that I couldn't have ever put in words to watch her have him, and then her instinct was instantly to tell him he did a good job as far as when he was when he was born. And so it was just such a joy, and just obviously full of worry, of course, because even when he's born, is he okay? Is he I don't know what's happening now. And so it was phenomenal.
Over the last decade, you've watched your wife become the most decorated female bobsledder. How did that compare to watching her become a mom and her just natural abilities and just love for him? And you guys are such a wonderful team. What was that dynamic like to see her become the top of the world in bobsled, and now the top of the world in motherhood as well? It's incredible.
Interestingly similar, as odd as that might, like in the comparison, because they don't seem like they have anything to do with each other. Kaillie's always been very maternal. She has nieces and a nephew, and she's always been very instinctual with them. And so she's going to make a good mom. Just like when you watch her bobsled, you go, that's a person doing something she's supposed to be doing. It's natural. I don't say it comes easy to her, because she works very, very hard to make it look easy. And that's kind of how motherhood, or my observation of watching her in motherhood, is she works incredibly hard at it, and so it looks easy for her. Though it's that same thing of she's doing what she's supposed to be doing. This is it. So as different as they are, it's been a similar experience. I think the one thing we've talked about is when she wins a medal, when she wins a championship, when she does things like where she becomes the only woman in Olympic history to win a gold medal for 2 different countries. She has the most, I think, world championships. She has the most gold medals. She has all these wild titles. And those typically have, okay, you did it, and now it's over, and now you move on. And that was the funny thing about going through IVF, it was this insane amount of work that for some people happens on a drunk weekend on July 4th or something. And so we had this build up for so long just to get to that starting line. And then once he was born, we're like, oh, now it starts. Now we get to go. And so it's like this gold medal moment that you kind of get to live in. Obviously there's trials and tribulations, and there's sleepless nights, and there's all that stuff comes with it. Not dissimilar to her Olympic career, which have been a lot of stress and sleepless nights and financial worries and everything.
It's so interesting that you say that, because she told me the same thing, that going through IVF mirrored so much as her being an Olympian, and the ups and downs, and the financial stress that comes with it, and the failures, and the excitements, and the hope of not really, and the unknowns. When you went through the failed transfers, and what was that like, and how did you see your relationship with Kaillie change during that time?
I'm going through it, but I'm not going through what she's going through. I mean, to go into the doctor, to do the shots, to do the hormone therapies you have to do. I mean, I can't do it for her, and I would be probably too big of a baby to do it anyway. So I'm glad that she gets to do it, but I wish I could do it, not or I could take some of the stress away. So it created a challenge in the way that there was a limit to what I could do. It was challenging, and like everything, it was an opportunity for us to either grow apart or come closer together. And that's kind of been a theme in a lot of situations, with her switching when she came from Canada to the U.S. We lived apart for a while. We when she was on tour, you know, there's all these opportunities or these challenges to say, okay, we've got a choice. We either grow together or we grow apart. And my grandpa told me, you know, they've been married for like 70, 80 years. Everybody's asked, well, why does it work? And he said, you have to go back to your marriage vows and really take them seriously. Yeah. And if you take them seriously, you'll do the things you need to do to make sure everything stays together. And so where Kaillie and I do well for each other is if I'm in the dumps, she's typically not. And when she's in the dumps, I'm typically not. And so maybe we're just incredibly lucky and we happen to like nail those times. It's almost harder now looking back at some of that stuff now that we have Alden, and then to kind of think like, you know, some of the failed transfers, it does kind of think like, well, you know, what would have, what would they have been? And you don't know. And you know, there's a lot of factors involved there. IVF is such a trip because they set the scenario up. Okay, you're going to pick the best quality egg. You're going to pick the best this, and so this is the one that should be successful. And it wasn't. And then it wasn't again. And it wasn't again. Yeah. Thinking, but we're getting less and less likely for this thing to work out. So what do we do? You keep going? What do you do? And so we had a lot of those conversations, I think, blatantly. And that helped us keep on path to the same goal. Yeah. So if one of us started to stray or have you know, whatever the scenario was, to have questions about it, as we could come back and talk about it and just make sure, okay, we're on the same goal, the same path. Let's get on the same path. And it makes it easier because we're effectively kind of, I don't say fighting is not the right word, but we're heading towards the same direction. Mm-hmm. And so that way when things do get tough, and I think we tend to not judge each other too harshly of like, well, you didn't do this or you didn't do that. It's like, okay, we're doing our best. So we know we're going the same direction. So if it's a bit bumpy, that's okay. We can accept that because we're going the same direction. So
I had the privilege of being here and seeing you guys interact. I remember you came down the stairs and Alden had already been awake, and he turned his head around and he saw you, and he lit up like it was Santa himself Christmas morning coming down the stairs. When you see his face, and he is just so excited to see his dad, just like he is excited to see his mom. But you came down those stairs like his biggest hero in the world, Caleb, was coming down those stairs. Yeah. What does that do for your heart? And when you think through this journey to know that, wow, this boy, you are the center of his world. Yeah.
It is an absolute delight. I mean, it is a blessing from God that we got to get to this point. So, because I know realistically, you know, couples go through this and they don't get to that point. Yeah. And so it is seeing his little smiling face. It is a reminder of like, this is what's important. Yeah. Regardless of what's going on, whether it's career, job, Olympics, Kaillie's career, it's a house, it's this is what's important. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, we have a puppy, and it's amazing to have a puppy come in and greet you. Yes. It's a totally different thing when that little smiling, like, you know, he's got 3 or 4 or 5 teeth that are kind of there, you know, and so just big cheesy grin on his face, and you think, that's pretty cool. Yeah. It's just, it reminds you, as I said, it's in our very easily distracted minds, it's just a moment of like coming back because he's just there. Yeah, when I was talking to Kaillie about doing this story and figuring out who we were going to talk to really, you know, help us paint the picture of her career. And ever since I've got here, she has given you an unbelievable amount of credit and and just said that none of this is possible without your sacrifice to take a step back in your own career, to help raise Alden and also help her as a trainer. Yeah. How do you balance those hats, and what has it been like for you personally to have those changes and to make those sacrifices to help see your wife have success in this season of life? Chaotic, and it's just an acceptance of chaos. Yeah. That's really what it is. So a long time ago, I heard this saying of you know, what you give away, you keep forever, and I thought, that doesn't make any damn sense. I don't really get it. Okay, you know, but who, you know, people went, oh, that's amazing. I said, yeah, it must be. I don't know. And so you know, and to say there, you know, kind of another saying was, it's not a sacrifice unless it's painful, and that one I could relate with. In a way, though, you know, to say that I've given something up, it is true. But in order to, you know, when you give, you do get, and what I've gotten by giving something up, it's just immeasurable. The time that I get to spend with her, the things I've gotten to see. I mean, prior to her and us, our relationship, I'd been out of the country once, and it was like to Mexico one time on a spring break deal. Like, not really like a world traveler.
Yeah.
So since, you know, meeting her, and, you know, I was always deathly afraid that if I left it, you know, my business would crumble and this and that sort of thing, and it never did. And so I got to, you know, go and see these cool places, and then, you know, obviously this was the biggest step as far as like, okay, I kind of have to be, I call it a sabbatical, right?
I love that.
Yeah,
I love it.
so we'll coin that term at some point.
Yes.
Maybe we coin it now.
Trademark that.
Trademark
that.
Yeah.
Yes, that's incredible.
So I'm on a sabbatical, so I'm not really technically giving up anything. I'm just sabbaticaling.
I just love that so much.
So, right. I had to think.
Yes.
I had to come up with something with it, because people would ask, "Well, what are you doing now?" I don't know. I'm Kaillie Sherpa. I carry stuff for her on tour. I take care of Alden when she goes to training. I don't know. So that's what we came up with.
Yes.
And so everything I've given up, I've gotten more in return. I got time with her, got time with Alden now. I get to be with him on these little moments, like he does little things for the first time, and I get to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of times, there are times when I take it for granted and I forget, and there's moments when I go like, oh, I wouldn't see this if I was working full time. And I do have some really good friends. One of my friends, he did a similar thing where he actually stepped away from a really high paying CEO type career to come back and work with kids, and it was nice to talk to him because his kids are grown now, and he said, I wouldn't change it for the thing. He said, so I promise it might be difficult at times, and the difficult part isn't the not working. I mean, at times you go, that's pretty cool, I don't have to wake up early, and then all of a sudden he cries at 5 a.m. You're like, oh, I do have to wake up early. Right. It's kind of learning what to kind of consider your small wins. When you work, typically, you kind of get into a routine, and you have kids. When you have when we went on tour for the first time, he was 4 months old.
Yeah.
I don't know what we were thinking. Well, we had to do it. That was basically what it was. And to get to this goal, we had to do that goal. And so it was just, okay, just go do it and figure it out along the way, because there's not exactly a playbook for it. And so it took me a while to really kind of to really put it into perspective, because you're just going. And now that he's won, there has been a little bit of time to reflect and really realize, like, holy moly, like I have been given and had gotten so much that I don't anymore. It doesn't feel like I gave anything up. Certainly things are different.
Sure.
And went golfing. We usually go like once every 5 years with a couple good friends of mine, and they're both hot in their careers, and they're talking about they're doing this and they're doing that, and I changed some poopy diapers. Don't have much to add to this one. So that was one of those moments of like, wow, I'm really doing something a little, common in some places and some, avenues. I'm sure, though it's been, again, I just can say, at this point, I don't feel like I've given anything up, and I'm just getting so much in return.
Coming up, how Kaillie's longtime coach, Stu McMillan, has impacted her life on and off the track.
So I sort of fell into coaching the athletes who were around at that time in the early 90s, mid 90s in Calgary, which was a lot of winter sports. So I started working with speed skating and skeleton and bobsled. So that's kind of how I started coming into bobsled. You know, I became known as the speed guy. This is where many of the bobsledders would go to work on their speed. And then from there, I started working on their strength and their power. Then I became a bobsled coach and actually working on the entire push mechanics. So it started for me mid-90s really. I was coaching, I think that was the very first Canadian bobsled team started coaching together or training together in the late 90s. And I started with them in about 1998. So I was already embedded into the sort of the bobsled ecosystem at that time. And I think all of us in bobsled community first became aware of Kaillie in about 2004, 2005, I think when she first started. And she was a kid, she was 17 or 18 years old. But she was big, she was strong, she was powerful, and she was loud. She was obnoxious and knew it all, you know? So it's, okay, this girl's really, really good. She's a little bit annoying, but she's really good. So that's kind of what I started paying attention to her, just basically when she just started. And then I think she was an alternate at the 06 games, and I was coaching the US team at the 06 games. And then I think I started coaching her the following season, so the 06-07 season. She's somebody who's so driven, so incredibly driven, and she's never lost that drive at all. So I got sort of used to that, you know, and I've been coaching now, you know, for a long, long time, and I work with a lot of similarly driven athletes. So that's not super unique. Like her drive isn't the thing, isn't the thing that really stands out to me. What has really stood out to me over the course of, you know, the whatever, almost 20 years of coaching her, is her just growing up, maturing, understanding who she is as a human being and as an athlete, and how to navigate this whole journey of being an athlete while you're also being a human being, and all of the things that come together with those two. Watching the journey of her just becoming a woman and then becoming a wife and a mother, that's the most interesting thing. She's always been a great athlete, and now it's still, if you ask her, it's still, bobsled's probably top 3 now in her life. It's not top 1, I can almost guarantee that. So it's understanding the hierarchy. It's still, when she does it, she wants to be the best in the world. But there's other things now that are maybe distracting or taking away from that, just that singular focus. So as a coach, I need to understand that, appreciate that, respect that. It's, for me, when I'm sitting down to talk about a training year with an athlete, it's talking about what is their objective, as not just the year, but for them as an athlete. Why are you doing the sport? What is most important to you? Is it winning an Olympic medal? Because it's not always winning an Olympic medal. Sometimes it's learning more about yourself. Sometimes it's, can I push myself to be as good as I possibly can be, while I'm also being a wife and a mother, which is kind of what it is for Kaillie now, right? So there's all of these different things that we have to navigate together now through that journey. Part of that is she's not able to train as much. She's 39 years old now. She can do a lot less now than when she was 24 and 25. So where there wasn't a lot of constraints around the amount of work and the amount of intensity and the amount of load that we could put into a program, now there is. Now we have to be a lot more careful. Kaillie is actually the first athlete that I've coached who's had a baby and come back, and I've been training them again. So this is brand new for me. So I've got, one of the things about being old is you've got a big network. I know a lot of people who have been doing this for a long time. So I reached out to many members of my network who are expert in coaching postpartum athletes. So there was a lot of other things that we had to do. Obviously, a lot of health and physiotherapy work that she had to have done. So it was a lot for me to give away much of kind of the work that I would normally do. I wasn't able to do. Said, okay, you are expert at this. Take care of this piece. Can we do this? There was a lot more questioning for me, a lot more challenging, a lot more complexity in that process for me. I have a good friend named Molly Galbraith. She owns this company called Girls Gone Strong, and they are experts in this. So I was talking to Molly on this almost daily. Hey, what should I do? Do I need to avoid this? Can I do this? What types of things does Kaillie need to do over the course of the next month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, so on and so forth? And we're not out of that period yet. I mean, she's still a fairly new mother, so there's still quite a lot that I cannot do yet that maybe I would have been doing with her 5 years ago. So it's significant and challenging for me. I'm proud of the entire journey. You know, I'm proud of her growth and development as a human being. I'm proud of her ability to look at herself now and realize that she's not the physical specimen that she once was, and she's still able to push herself and show up and give as much as she can. So all of these different things are what I'm the most proud of, not singular moments in time. If post games, if she can look back and look at the journey up until that point and she can say, I'm proud of that work, then that's success. You know, it's not necessarily now where it's a gold medal or bust or a medal or bust. It's, am I proud of what I've gone through over the course of the last 2.5 years after having Alden to the Olympic Games? That's a lot of different things that have happened in her life that is very, very unique. Can she look back at that and say, yeah, I'm really proud of that? I think that's success.
As both Kaillie and Travis said, regardless of the outcome from this Olympic cycle, their greatest gold medal has already been won. For Athletes Who Inspire, I'm Simone Eli.
Charlie White, an Olympic gold medalist in ice dancing, has long been celebrated as one of the most accomplished figures in American figure skating. Rising to international prominence alongside his partner, Merrill Davis, he captured the world's attention with their historic victory at the 2014 Winter Olympics in Sochi. Beyond competition, White has continued to shape the sport as a coach, commentator, and advocate for the artistry of ice dancing.
All right, I'm Aisha Tolliver here with Charlie White for the Where Are They Now series, a former gold medalist in the Olympics. That was 2014. Yeah. We're now a decade later, a little longer than a decade later. How has that journey and transition in life been for you?
I mean, it's been incredible. And, you know, it was such a thrill, obviously, winning the Olympics. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's an understatement. But I think that being able to gain perspective on success in life, you know, in the aftermath of that has been really interesting.
And for a lot of professional athletes, that transition of finding your identity outside of being that athlete